It says in this week's portion, when you appoint a teacher or a friend, ve'asita kechol asher yorucha, which literally means you have to follow everything and anything they say. Do not deviate from what they tell you, from what your teacher tells you, right or left. Rashi and the Ramban, both of them speak to this point. They say, Afilu yagidu lecha al yamin shu smol. Even if your teacher tells you that right is left and left is right, you have to listen to them. Why? But this is what it says. If you want to know if you have a teacher, right? Again, it's easy to have a friend or a teacher, but usually, again, it's when we're in line with what they're saying. In this week's portion, the Torah is telling us that you don't have a teacher. If you're not willing to, if you know this is my right hand, and the teacher comes and tells you this is your left hand, if you can't accept that from your teacher, he's not your teacher. If you can't accept that from a friend, he's not your friend. Why? Why is it so important? The Creator is telling us this is the state of a teacher. Listening to somebody when it's in some way aligned with what you're saying, that's not a teacher. Listening to somebody who makes sense to you all the time, that's not a teacher. But a teacher is somebody who tells you your right hand is your left hand, and you listen. Why? So I want to speak about, and this is not a new concept, I think, for many of us, but I think it's important to reawaken this understanding of how blind we are, how blind we can be. And I want to share two stories from the prophets, which when you read them, when you hear them, hopefully, it's hard not to, you'll say, well, these people were idiots. We're talking about two people, one a prophet called Hananiah and another Chiyael Bet Ha'eli, two people from the prophets. But what I want to awaken as we hear these stories of these stupid people, how blind they were, but how blind we are. How blind they were, how blind we are. Because if you don't come, certainly to the month of Elul, with this consciousness that there's no question, that there are things that you know to be certain, to be right about yourself, that are completely wrong, and certain things about you that you don't think you need to change, that you absolutely need to change. If you don't come at least with that understanding to the Creator, saying, I am sure, not just something you say, but to really have that clarity, I am sure that there are things that I am completely blind to that I need to change, there's no chance you'll ever change them. There's no chance you'll ever even be given the message to change them. So the first story, it's really an amazing story. We know after Moses leaves this world, Joshua becomes the leader. One of the first things that Joshua does, he captures the city of Yericho, the city of Jericho. And in the beginning of the book of Yehoshua, we read, after the whole discussion of how Joshua captured the city of Jericho, he says, because of all the negativity that existed then, Joshua says, the Creator has told me to announce that nobody is allowed, at least for the next maybe hundreds of years or a few thousand years, nobody is allowed to rebuild the city of Yericho. You are not allowed to build the city of Yericho. He says, if anybody decides, for whatever stupid reason, that they want to build the city of Yericho again, I want you to know, and I'm prophesizing now what's going to happen, Joshua says. When they begin the building, their oldest son will die. And if they continue building, all their children will die. And in their youngest son, chas v'shalom, when they put the walls to the doors to the city, that's when their youngest son is going to die. Very scary prophecy. I mean, anybody with a half a brain, you hear the prophecy, you decide, I'm never, of course, going to build the city of Yericho. A few hundred years later, there comes a man. His name was Chiyael Bet Ha'eli. Chiyael Bet Ha'eli was a very elevated soul. He was not a common man. Chiyael, during the time of the king Achav, who was a negative king, decides, I have a great idea. Let me rebuild the city of Yericho. He's reminded, as is written in the book of Yehoshua, the Creator said, if you build, chas v'shalom, a person builds the city of Yericho, arur ha'ish bivchoro yisadena. He remembers that Joshua said, if you try to rebuild the city of Jericho, chas v'shalom, your firstborn will die when you begin the building, and your children will continue to die throughout, chas v'shalom, and then when you put the doors to the city, your youngest son will die. So Chiyael has an idea. I'll rebuild the city, but I'll call it a different name. Who knows, maybe Joshua meant only if you rebuild it and you want to call it Jericho again. But if you rebuild it and you give it a different name, then the curse doesn't apply to you. Okay. Why take the chance? Chiyael wants to. So Chiyael begins the building of the city of Jericho. And it says, during the time, this is in the book of Kings, of Melachim, Be'amav bana Chiyael bet ha'eli et Yericho. In the time of Achav, the negative king, Chiyael, who was a very good friend of his, began building the city of Jericho, and Achav thought it was a good idea. Ba'aviram bechoro yisada. When he started building, his oldest son, Aviram, dies. Now, it says that, this is also the time of Eliyahu and Elijah the prophet. So, Chiyael is sitting Shiv'ah. He's mourning the death of his oldest son, Aviram. And Achav the king comes to console him. Eliyahu Navi, Elijah the prophet, comes to console him. And Eliyahu Navi says to him, he says, listen, maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe Joshua said that nobody should ever rebuild Jericho. You started building it. Your oldest son Aviram died. Maybe you should stop. Chiyael says no. He gets up from the Shiva on his son. It's crazy. He gets up from the Shiva on his son. And as he continues to build, his children begin to die. And when he finally builds the doors to the city of Yericho, his youngest son Siguv dies. Completing the prophecy and the curse that Joshua Yeshua bin Nun gave. And you look at this guy, Chiyael bet ha'eli, and you know, again, he was a friend of Achav, he was a friend of the king, he was a friend of Eliyahu Navi. Elijah the prophet keeps coming to him. Every time he sits Shivan, one of his kids, who dies as he's building the city of Yericho. In some way in his mind, Chiyael bet ha'eli is telling himself that not only is this not a problem, these are all coincidences. All coincidences. Crazy. Crazy. Right? How stupid can a person be? He sees the prophecy coming true. He sees his children beginning to die and continuing to die. Still, he continues in his way. And if you would ask Chiyael bet ha'eli, what are you doing? I'm revealing the light of the Creator. I'm doing actions of sharing. How stupid can you be? So one very, very obviously dramatically stupid person. Then in the time of Jeremiah, we find another very stupid person. It says in Jeremiah chapter 28, Amar Elai Hananya ben Azur Hanavi. Hananya, the son of Azur, who saw himself as a prophet, stands up in front of everybody and he gives a prophecy. Bevet Hashem le'nei ha'kohanim v'chol ha'am le'emor. He stands up in the temple, in front of all the people, in front of the high priests, in front of all the priests, and he says, Ko amar Hashem tzivakot Elokei Yisrael. This is a prophecy that I received from the Creator. Shavarti et ol melech Bavel. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Bavel, will not, as Jeremiah is telling all you guys, that Nebuchadnezzar is going to come, he's going to destroy Jerusalem, and he's going to destroy all the land of Israel. Not true. The Creator came to me, Hananya ben Azur, and I am a prophet, and I received the word from the Creator. He says, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Bavel, will be destroyed. Be'od shnatayim yamim ani mashiv el hamakom hazeh et kol klei Beit Hashem. In 2 years' time, my prophecy is from the Creator that Nebuchadnezzar will be destroyed, and everything that he took from the temple will be brought back. And then he goes on to say, the king will come back. If you ask Hananya ben Azur, this prophet, he had no doubt this was a message coming to him from the Creator to give everybody else. And he prophesies, Nebuchadnezzar will lose. All that he took from the temple will be brought back. All the people who went into exile will be brought back. Now, Jeremiah, who was the only true prophet at the time, he received the opposite prophecy. He received the prophecy that Nebuchadnezzar will continue, that Nebuchadnezzar will destroy all of Jerusalem, and then Nebuchadnezzar, not only will all those who went into exile stay in exile, but everybody else will also wind up in exile. And to prove his point, to show his point, he walked around with a yoke on his neck to remind everybody, look, this is what's going to happen. We're all going to be enslaved. Unless we change now, we're all going to be enslaved. Hananiah ben Azul says the opposite, right? And when you have two prophets, we want to hear the good prophecy. You don't want to listen to the negative. Yirmiyah stands up though, and he says, Vayomer Yirmiyah hanavi el Hananiah hanavi. Jeremiah stands up in front of everybody in the temple and he says, Amen ken ya'aseh Hashem. I wish it were so. I wish it was true what Hananiah ben Azul just said. Ach shman hadavar hazeh asher anochi dover beoznecha. But let me tell you the truth. Hanavi asher yinaveh leshalom. You're saying that everything will be okay, that there will come peace in 2 years. Bevod var hanavi yivada hanavi asher shelacho Hashem be'emet. We'll know in 2 years, or even before that, Jeremiah says, if you're a true prophet or if I'm a true prophet. He's saying, don't listen. He's saying to all the Israelites then in Jerusalem, he's lying to you. He thinks he's a prophet, he's not a prophet. He's giving you a message of peace. There isn't a message of peace. There's only one message you should be listening to, and that is you need to change now, and if you don't change now, destruction is going to come. Hananiah ben Azul gets upset. How dare Jeremiah get up after I've given my prophecy, and now he's telling me that I'm wrong. As we said earlier, Jeremiah, Yirmiyah, in order to awaken everybody, he would walk around the city of Jerusalem with a yoke on his back, trying to remind everybody, if you don't change now, you're all going to wind up slaves. You're all going to wind up in exile. Hananiah, in his anger, takes off the wooden yoke off the shoulders of Jeremiah, and he breaks it. Vayomer Hananiah kol ha'am, and Hananiah says to all the people, Ko amar Hashem, the prophecy from the Creator is Kacha yishbor et ol Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel. As I've just broken the yoke off the shoulders of Jeremiah, the Creator is telling me to tell you that Nebuchadnezzar will be destroyed, and none of the slavery that Jeremiah is saying is going to happen, and none of the exile, and none of the destruction that Jeremiah is talking about is going to happen. Vayelech Yirmiyah navi ledarko. Jeremiah doesn't know what to do. He tries to give his message. Hananiah is being stronger than him. People are listening to Hananiah. They're not listening to Yirmiyah, to Jeremiah. Vayhi dvar Hashem Yirmiyah. The Creator reveals Himself in true prophecy to Jeremiah. Acharei shvor Hananiah hanavi et hamotah. After Hananiah the prophet broke the yoke off his shoulders. Haloch ve'amarta el Hananiah le'emor. Go tell Hananiah this message. Ko amar Hashem, so says the Creator. Motot etz shabarta. You broke off the shoulder of Jeremiah, the wooden yoke. Ve'asita tachtehen motot barzel. You've caused that not only will the yoke be of wood, but it will be of metal. It will be even worse than it was meant to be. He says, as Jeremiah is telling you, unless you change right now, destruction is coming, slavery is coming, exile is coming. Vayomer Yirmiyah navi el Hananiah navi shmana Hananiah. Jeremiah says to Hananiah, listen. Lo shalachacha Hashem. You're a false prophet. You're a liar. V'ata iftachta et ha'am hazeh al shaker. Everything you told the people, all the prophecy you say you received from the Creator, it's a lie. And here he says to Hananiah ben Azul, Ko amar Hashem, so says the Creator. Hineni mishalechecha me'al pnei ha'adama. Because you're a false prophet, because you're a liar, because you're trying to stop the people from changing, Hashana atamet. You're going to die this year. You're going to die. Ki sara dibarta el Hashem, because you've been lying and you've been giving false prophecy. Now Hananiah ben Azul, it's crazy. Clearly he must know at this point that he's a false prophet. Clearly he must know that he's lying. But it gets even crazier. Vayamot Hananiah hanavi b'shana hi, b'chodesh hashvi. Jeremiah tells him, you're going to die this year. Hananiah ben Azur is on his deathbed. Erev Rosh Hashanah. Right as the year is about to end. What is he thinking about? Rashi says an amazing thing. He says to his sons, he says, I think I'm going to die today, which means that Jeremiah's prophecy is going to come true, that he was going to die that year. But do me a favor. Even though I'm going to probably die today, don't bury me until after Rosh Hashanah so that people will think that I didn't die last year. So that people will think that Jeremiah was wrong. This is the last thoughts that are going through his mind. What is it about this person, this idiot? He sees, he knew that he was lying. He knew that Jeremiah was right. He knew that Jeremiah's prophecy about his death in that year is right. He still has to make sure that he's not proven wrong. So he tells his last commandment to his children as he's dying, Erev Rosh Hashanah, he says to his sons, make sure you don't bury me until next year. So that people will have a doubt whether Jeremiah was telling the truth or whether he was lying. And therefore it says in the prophet that he died that year. We learn again an amazing thing, and this is human nature. Not human nature, this is the Satan nature that has taken over every single one of us. We so need to be right, as in this case Hananiah ben Azur needed to be right, that we will make up so many stories. We will make up so many stories that are absolutely true to us. You know, there's one level to lie to ourselves, where we know we're lying to ourselves. But the worst lies that we tell ourselves are the ones that we believe. And we believe so many things that are absolutely lies. Hiyael Bet Ha'eli believed his lies. He thought for whatever crazy, you look at the story, your children are dying. What are you, stupid? Yes, he's stupid. But he believes these lies that he's telling himself. Hananiah ben Azur, you're dying. Jeremiah was right, you were wrong. The last thing you should be doing is at least admitting the lie. One of the most difficult things for any individual to do is to admit his lies. You have to start, and this is the work of Elul. We go back. Why does it say, "Lo tasur min hadavar asher yagidu lecha yamin u'shmol"? You have to listen to your teacher, to your friend, when he tells you that your right hand is your left hand, because the Creator is telling you, I promise you that as you stand here today, clarity about your right hand being your right hand, your left hand being your left hand, that are absolute and complete lies. And unless you really, really know that, you can say that, you can hear that, but most of us, if we're sitting quietly in our own home, we'll say, okay, yeah, these are the areas that I've been lying to myself, these are the areas within which I'm falling. Work on those in Elul. But that's not the real work of Elul. The real work of Elul is to find the Yamin Shu Small, to find those areas that you're sure about, to find those areas that you have clarity about, and to realize, oh my God, not only was I a little bit off, a little bit wrong, I thought this was in this way. I thought my right hand was my right hand, my left hand was my left hand. It's completely the other way around. And that's the first step. Because the second step is, yes, you have to listen to when somebody tells that to you. But it has to begin with this clarity. As stupid as we come to think Hiyael Bet Ha'eli was, as stupid as we come to think that Hananiah ben Azur was, we are worse. We are worse. There are absolutely, and this is, again, you can hear this and it means nothing when you hear it. But to really take the time to come to this clarity. There are things that I think, that I know about myself and about my work and about my life and about my spiritual work that are absolutely wrong. But I am absolutely certain that they're true. Just as I am certain that my right hand is my right hand and my left hand is my left hand. And unless you first come with that clarity, and you come to the Creator, not just show me my mistakes, show me where I've fallen, show me my negativity. The most important spiritual work, the most important request we have to ask of the Creator, show me where things that I am certain about are completely false. This week's portion, it says tzedek tzedek tirdof, which means that you have to run after the truth. You have to realize first how deep in a lie you exist, how deep those lies are, how certain you have become in those lies. When you come to that first stage, which is that you are certain that there are things that you think you have clarity on. There are things that you think you are certain that are true, that are absolutely not true, that are absolutely wrong. You say to the Creator in this month of Elul, I don't simply want to find those things that I know that I've done wrong. I don't simply want to find those things that I know I need to change. I want to have the merit. I want to have the merit to come to clarity about things that I think that I know. Things that I think that I'm certain of. If in this month of Elul, either with internal work, or probably more importantly from a teacher or from a friend, we don't come to something of an understanding. This whole thing that I've been doing, this whole thought that I had, this whole path that I had, that I thought that I had clarity on, there's something fundamentally opposite about it, wrong about it, that needs to change completely, then I've not done the work of it. If I have not come to al yamin shu smol, where somebody tells me what I thought until now was my right hand is my left hand, something as dramatic as that, I've not done the work of the month of Elul. As stupid as Chiyael Bet Ha'eli, as stupid as Hanania Ben Azur are, where they can see with their eyes what is happening and still think that they're right and still continue down their path, we are worse. There are certain things that we think that we have clarity on, certain things that we think we see clearly on, and the absolute opposite is true. First, you have to know that. You have to beg the Creator, show me those parts. Not just the things that I've done wrong, not just the things that I need to do better. Show me those parts, al yamin shu smol, what I see as my right hand, where I come to realization, oh my God, this is so wrong. I thought this was so right, and it's so wrong. When you open yourself up in that way, then you can have a teacher who will tell you, al yamin shu smol. Then you can have a friend that will tell you, your right is your left, and your left is your right. First, you have to open yourself up to come to this clarity. This begins with this clarity. There are things about me, about my life, about my path, that I think that are absolutely right, that are absolutely wrong. And you beg the Creator in this month of Elul to say, please show them to me. And then you open yourself up, whether it's to a teacher or to a friend, there's an opening for them to show it to you. And this is as we said, the most important work of this month of Elul, al yamin shu smol. We ask the Creator, give me the merit to come to see something that I thought was right, was left. Something that I thought was so right, is so wrong. And if we ask, and we truly become open to it, the Creator will show it to us. We'll send a teacher, we'll send a friend, we'll send an internal awakening to see it. B'ezrat Hashem, these two ideas that we've spoken about are the fundamental work that we have to do in this month of Elul. The first point, as we said, not just to become better, not just to become elevated, but to use this consciousness, this work, to elevate all of our darkness in this year. And second, to come to clarity about things that we thought we were clear on. To come to realizations, and to ask to come to the realizations of these areas that are so wrong, in which we think we are so right. And if we ask for the assistance in this work, B'ezrat Hashem, the Creator will give us the merit to see, will give us the merit to transform all those areas of darkness and to really accomplish the work of the month of Elul.